Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. Wafanyakazi wote tujiunge pamoja, wafanyakazi wote tujiunge pamoja, wafanyakazi wote tujiunge pamoja, tujitenge hatari. Haya shime tujiunge, haya shime tujiunge, haya shime tujiunge, tujitenge hatari. Solidarity forever.
The National Organization of Trade Unions, NOTU, is empowering young trade union leaders to fight for their space by mentoring them to strategically position themselves for the competitive leadership opportunities in a bind to strengthen the labor movement. The NOTU chairman, General Musa Okello, encouraged young trade union leaders not to shy away from taking up leadership roles in their respective unions and beyond.
So for those who keep thinking that you are leaders of tomorrow, you're lying to yourselves. How old is Ibrahim Traore? 35. You are not leaders of tomorrow, you are leaders of today. We are simply preparing the space for you and you take over. So if you are waiting for tomorrow, then you will never be a leader. You must start the leadership today.
He made a call during a 3-day training for NOTU interest group committee members comprising of the women, youth, and persons with disabilities.
Jumping the queue.
Please jump. If you don't jump, they will not give space. Jump. I am one of them, but I'm encouraging you, jump. Because nobody is going to just move away from their chair for you to sit. You must present yourself as able. That means brand yourself. Yeah? Position yourself. If you think someone is going to look for you to become a leader, nobody is going to do it. I also want to be a general secretary for as long as I can be. But you prepare yourself to take over. Otherwise, I'll sit there even when I can no longer walk. Because nobody has presented themselves as able. The youth, I hope you're listening to me.
The meeting, conducted at OK Hotel in Old Kampala, aimed at enhancing the participants' skills in digital organizing to strengthen social dialogue, negotiation, and collective bargaining.
Jessica, my name's Deputy Chairman General Duties Woman, NOTU, and I'm the National Treasurer of Workers in Informal Economy Network Uganda. In your retirement, you are going to have or create your own job in the informal economy. So how are we preparing this informal economy to be a safe landing site of each and every worker, today or tomorrow? Or now today you are there in formally employed, but you have a brother, you have a sister, you have a relative who is there. Or yourself, you are employed there with a side income. So we are here on a theme of digital organizing, also just transition and climate change.
Been discussing about aspects of digital organizing for workers within Uganda, and this is particularly our level which is taking us to see that we use digital platforms, digital tools to engage workers, to mobilize workers and see that they can be recruited within the trade union system. It is an element or effort to see to it that recruitment for workers to join trade unions is enhanced It is not to throw out the traditional methods of recruiting and organizing, but to supplement such that even those in rural areas, hard to reach places, can be given an opportunity to enjoy their constitutional rights as workers and contribute to the development of the workers' movement. The call to action to first the leaders, trade union leaders, is to appreciate and also institutionalize digital organizing and recruitment within the trade union systems at their respective level, and also the national organization and trade union leaders to see to it that they support their unions in developing capacity of recruiters for the system. It will also be important to see to it that there is capacity building for different coordinators within the system to ensure that each union, each shop conceptualizes, develops these systems, and eventually a database, because that's the critical point. You need a database, and then the monitoring and evaluation system, which will help the organizers and to upload more members. Using digital tools like Google Form shall be the easiest, because this is filled out on simple devices like phones, tablets, computers, and it goes to a centralized system, and by that, recruitment is going to be done. Yes, there is a challenge also for retention. It's not only about recruiting, but there is also retention. So developing member packages for retention is also going to be very, very important, to see to it that those who are already in the system get an enhancement of what they have and they stay within the system of the trade unions.
Medi Semambo from the Ministry of Water and Environment introduced the trade union leaders to the concept of climate change and just transition.
Yeah, my name is Semambo Muhammad. I work with the Ministry of Water and Environment. And I think today we've been discussing with the National Trade Union on issues to deal with the just transition. And I think the key message is here is that a just transition is a concept that we are using in the climate change, but it's looking at the aspect of reducing the use of the fossil fuel to more cleaner energy in terms of the development aspects across all sectors. So the aspect of just transition, I think, goes into recognizing the conversion on climate change and the articles therein that really try to substitute between what the conversion objective is, looking at stabilizing of the greenhouse gas in the atmosphere, but also there are specific articles in the conversion that are talking about common and differentiated responsibilities. And that is Article 3.1 of the conversion. So in this, as the world has a collective goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, transiting to low emission development and all net zero in terms of emissions by improving on the energy. So there are two concepts that are already being talked about. Is the phase down of the fossil fuels and phase out of fossil fuels. And as Uganda, we are looking at the phase down process, which is really in the processes. So when we talk about the just transition process, it should actually recognize the capabilities, the capacities, but also the aspect of common and differentiated responsibilities. Who has contributed what in terms of climate change? What capacity do you have to implement sustainable energy production, but also mitigation actions that can enable the country to lower the emissions and also trying to improve on the issues of improving on the carbon budget for the country by reducing the emissions coming out from the operations of the country across all various sectors. So a just transition is really trying to look at the aspect of the fairness has to be there. There has to be aspect of equity. There has to be aspect of environmental integrity in doing just transition, and should respect the social and the cultural norms of any countries, because countries are really a sovereign state. So as all we are striving as a country or as a world in terms of reducing the greenhouse gases. And we have a seeding that by 2050 would have maximized in terms of lowering emissions, that's what we call the low emissions, and also the net zero. The government of Uganda is really trying to promote what we call the low carbon in terms of trying to reduce on the emissions coming out from the operations of various sectors. So as trying to do this, we are very much cognizant about our contribution to the global emission. We are very much cognizant about the participation in just transition. We are much cognizant about the rights of our communities. We are much cognizant also about the environmental integrity and the issues to do with equity, but also and equality and fairness in just transition. So this is what we are calling our colleagues in the Western world, that as we try to explore the mechanisms of reducing climate change in terms of reducing emissions, all countries have to respect their national circumstances, but also the takeoff and landing cannot be achieved at the same level. So we call upon them to recognize the just transition in all countries.
But the just transition is a bit complicated when you look at what they are emphasizing on looking at the carbon emissions. Uganda, are we producing carbon emissions? To what extent? But then, if it is just transition, how are we included? Are we accommodated? So as special interest group workers, are we there? If we are to go for just transition, are we accommodated? Are we going to participate? And it's not only in these trainings, but when you go back home, when you go back at your workplace, as a leader, what are you doing? I know it's challenging because you are working and you are leading other people, and you are not employed or you are not facilitated to do the work of a leader. But what are you doing to make sure that we are also included in this project?
The NOTU Secretary General, Richard Bigira, highlighted the cardinal roles of special interest committees of women, youth, and persons with disabilities in building trade union density.
So when you talk about NOTU, talk about yourself, don't talk about NOTU. You say, I must now do this, because we sit in the same secretariat. Though for me, I have another signature, but we sit in the same. Whatever program we have are presented, whatever we implement is done here together.
The NOTU capacity building training supported by Mondial FNV aims at creating a more just and equitable labor relations system.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. United we stand. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.